Pleasant and happy Sabbath to everyone. If I can find my glasses, I'll be complete. All right. I've got too many pockets here. Did I leave it over? No, it's right here. Yeah. As your elder just said, I have been at this pulpit several times in the past. It's been a while since we've been here, but it's a joy to share these moments with you again. I'm in Madeira every day, practically. I work at the Children's Hospital as a chaplain, a supervisor at the hospital. So I am in Madeira just about every day. Um, but it's good to be in Madeira City and in Madeira Seventh-day Adventist Church. It's good to see my good friend here, Stanley Mackey. I have a son named Stanley, and he plays the trumpet too. He's played it here many times too, so probably met him. So we're glad to share this fellowship. I also meet Dr. Jamie Bowman at the hospital often, so I was hoping to see her here today, but I understand she's in duty, so got to keep those kids healthy. We read earlier our text that we have chosen today is from Matthew chapter 4, verses 18 and 19. And I'm going to read it to you from the New Living Translation. One day Jesus was walking along the shore of the sea by Galilee. He saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and Andrew, throwing their nets into the water, and they fish for a living. Jesus called them out. Come, follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people. And they left their nets at once and followed him. Let us pray. Father, as we invite you to guide our thoughts and our words as we reflect on your words, that you may bring encouragement and you may even challenge us as we listen to your word, that we may grow closer to you and we may have a deeper commitment to you. For we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Follow me. Follow me is the words, the command, the direct challenge that Jesus gave to his disciples. Come, follow me. Not too long ago, I joined Twitter. I went to this group at the hospital, and they wanted me to join Twitter so we can be some kind of advocate for kids. And so when you join Twitter, you see all kind of people inviting you to follow them on Twitter. So you have big names and you have unknowns and you have all kind of celebrities and politicians, everybody inviting you to follow. I even have a few followers myself. And from time to time, I'll go on and read what others are saying, and I follow what their thoughts and their ideas. Well, today, Jesus is asking us to follow him. And he makes his command in a very direct, and it's if you know a little bit about English, I don't know too much. Most of you know my main language is Spanish. But there is a thing called imperative, right? Jesus say, follow me. I want you to know that his command is also a possibility. Now, in the Greek world and the Greco-Roman world, people did not go to school the way we go to school today. Classrooms and nice smart boards and you name it. When in the past, they had teachers that was, they have students or disciples. They follow them everywhere. They follow them to the market. They follow them to the field. They follow them in the garden. They follow them in the public square. They accompany them wherever they went. And as they accompanied them, they gleaned from them morsels of knowledge along the way. Their fortune, the teacher's fortune, was the fortune of the student. His misfortune was also their misfortune. His food were their food, and if he had nothing, they had nothing. And his shame or fame was theirs, his honor was their honor. So the disciple took on the life of their teacher during the years that they were following him. Now, there was a big difference with Jesus. The disciples did not choose Jesus. Jesus chose them. And that was the big difference. Rather than the disciples choosing to follow Jesus, as was the custom for students to choose their teachers, it was Jesus who chose his disciples. He handpicked them. You did not choose me, he said, but I choose you and appointed you that you might go and be fruitful. John 15:16. It should be noted that Jesus called his disciples and gave them a new type of ministry. I want you to know that you and I are called to Jesus just as he called his disciple. He said, you did not choose him, he chose you. And he gave them a different ministry. They were busy doing their work. He chose them to fish for people. Now, there are three major points in this verse that I read earlier. One, the creative force in discipleship is Jesus. It came from him. It is his idea. It is his initiative. The purpose for the discipleship was not to have a nice fellowship or a nice little group of followers, but the reason was this for discipleship were evangelistic, to learn a new type of fishing. And third, the demand for radical surrender, to leave everything and follow Jesus. Now, the verse again says, as Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew, and they were casting their net. And he said, follow me. Notice that their response was immediate. They say, at once they left their net and followed him. Now you wonder, what did they think about their job? Did they hate their job? Did they not like it? Why did they just drop everything and follow him? Or maybe they had a deeper understanding of what Jesus had to offer them. So going from there, he saw two brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat and with their father Zebedee preparing their nets. Jesus called them, and immediately they left the boat on their father and followed him. The forthright and solemn command of Jesus to follow him left his hearers little choice. They either had to follow him or turn away from him. Jesus made an invitation based on the understanding of himself and his mission. Jesus knew what he was here for, and he was so secure of who he was and what his purpose was that he was able to call others to him. How many of you would be willing to go out there and tell somebody, follow me? How many of you would be so confident of what your purpose in life is to say, all right, now you come with me. I've got a mission. I've got a job for you. But Jesus was very secure in himself. He understood what he was here for, and he had a purpose, and he could see the end from the beginning. And he said, I need you to be a part of this mission because it's going to have such a tremendous impact on the world. You don't even understand why I'm calling you. So, very early on in his mission, Jesus had said, he stood up in church one Sabbath morning, and he looked the people in his eyes, and he said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for prisoners, recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Now, this was his mission, and Jesus was about to share this mission with these disciples that he were calling to follow him. Do you know that this is also your mission? Because Jesus' mission to the world is also the mission of his disciples. Jesus called us to the same mission that he came to fulfill here on earth. So when you read that, you can put your name right there also. Jesus presents himself as the absolute, as the only guide, the only one who is able to give his followers the fulfillment they are seeking in their lives. The only one that has a plan to clean up the mess that this world is in. Oh yeah, we can put our trust in this politician and that politician. How many times have you been disappointed? Jesus said, you follow me. He presented himself as the light of the world. So he said, follow me, for I am the Emmanuel, the God with us. Follow me. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Do you want more reason to follow Jesus? Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. I am the good shepherd. Follow me. I am the breath of life. I feed the hungry. I heal the sick. I resurrect the dead. I save the sinner from everlasting damnation. Follow me, and I will create a new heaven and a new earth wherein reign righteousness. Jesus has the power to change the hearts and soul of men, women, and to make them whole. To follow Jesus is the only way to really honor God. Now, to follow Jesus is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. Following Jesus is not a risky investment. You know, all of us do a little investment. Yeah, they take some money out of my paycheck every night and put it on and it goes somewhere. I don't know who's doing it, but it's up there. When the stock go up, it goes up. When the stock comes down, it comes down. And it's kind of risky because, you know, when I get close to retirement, then I didn't crash and I'm in bad shape. But if we follow Jesus and put our trust in him, Jesus said, you've got nothing to worry about. Because even though you might walk through the valley of shadow of death, he will be with you. You know, human philosophy have failed us time and time again. We have seen all these new schemes or new thinking and our new paradigms that comes up, and they say, well, this new way of thinking is going to get us, make us successful, or it's going to make us happy. And we find that we apply those methods, and there are some things that were not thought out right, and things go wrong. No matter how safe and secure it looked. Not following Jesus is to deny oneself the joy of living in the light. Not following Jesus means that we forfeit eternal life, but it also means that we are living in this world by a false and injurious belief system. Think about the worldview that believes that money is the answer to all the problems. So, where that worldview prevails, men and women destroy themselves tirelessly trying to earn riches and to accumulate more resources. Think also of a worldview that think that chasing pleasure is the greatest thing in this world. And so men and women are just pursuing just the next big thrill. And life become empty because every time they need something bigger and more thrilling and to satisfy their soul. The worldview that exclude Christ tend to be skewed. It's off balance and work to the detriment of those who expose them. Now in chapter 6 of the book of John, the Gospel of John, we read that about a very crisis. In fact, the desire of Asia commenting on that chapter, call it the crisis in Galilee. And here we are, Jesus is approaching his followers and he's telling them that he is the bread of life. And he says some very challenging things, some things that are really hard to follow, hard to believe, like eat my flesh and drink my blood. And he's saying things that are not easy to understand or at least to adapt. And so the people are dropping off one after the other. Say, I can't follow this. It's too difficult. And disciples, they go one way and some start leaving. The crowd that was cheering him is thinning out. And so at the end, he turned to his disciples and he said to them, at this point, many of his disciples turned away and deserted him. Then Jesus turned to the 12 and asked, are you going to leave? Are you going to leave when things get tough? Are you going to leave when your ideas clash with Christ's idea of life? Are you going to leave when your career choices are not the same that Christ would have for you? Are you going to leave when your job demands that you do something that is contrary to your belief? Are you going to leave when times get tough and following Jesus represents a challenge in your life? And so Jesus said a lot of them left. Simon Peter replied and said, Lord, to whom will we go? You have words that give life eternal. We believe that you know we believe and we know that you are the Holy One of God. Now, do you know that for yourself? You know, this was a very important declaration that Peter made. This was a great conviction. Say, Lord, to whom will we go? You have words that give life eternal. Have you experienced that? We believe and we know that you are the Holy One of God. Now, there are many challenges today to the Christian belief. There are people that are teaching that there are many ways to God and that Christ is just another one. And there are alternative ways. And it doesn't matter what route you take as long as you get there. Well, this is different from what Jesus is saying here. Jesus didn't say, well, it's okay if you follow Buddha. As long as your heart is good, as you have a good heart, it's okay. Jesus, it's not okay if you follow this philosophy or that belief system. Jesus is very clear. He said, follow me. He does not give us a lot of wiggle room. He just said, follow me. I think this underscores something very important. It said following Jesus in a secular and sinful world is not easy. He's not saying that this is going to be a walk in the park, a piece of cake. Following Jesus is contrary to our sinful tendencies. Following Jesus is contrary to the world. It might even be contrary to what you see as your best interest. Right now, this is not in my best interest. I see a lot of people saying, I'm really busy. I would love to, but I am not. And it's my life today just don't allow for this. What are they thinking? What are we thinking when we think that way? That Christ cannot provide for our needs. That following Christ interfere with my life. Interfere with my success. Following Jesus is not going to take me down the path that I see as best for me. And yet Jesus said, follow me. And it doesn't have it's okay, you can follow me after you have gained your PhD. Or follow me after you have enough money saved in the bank. Or follow me when you find the right person to get married. Or follow me when you've done whatever you feel like you need to do. Follow me. The example of Peter and the other that were called is impressive. It's mind-blowing. It's crazy. These guys just drop what they're doing, walk off with Jesus. Hello? This is different. We need to know that who Jesus is before we can follow him. No, a lot of us sometimes before we can be fishers of men, we have to follow Jesus. Because oftentimes we're putting the cart before the horse. And sometimes we have to follow Jesus, as David said, in the valley of shadow of death. Because he does not always make it a clear picture. It requires faith. I have reflected on these words of the Apostle Paul as found in Philippians 3:10. For I want to know Christ. Yes, to know the power of his resurrection and participation in his suffering, becoming like him in his death. Now that was Paul's desire. He said, I want to follow Jesus. I don't matter where it takes me. If it takes me in suffering, if it takes me in hardship, I want to follow him everywhere. And he did. He recounted how many whips, how many shipwrecks, how many different things. He followed Jesus after his revelation of who Jesus was. The radical nature of Jesus' call is pretty dramatic. Imagine Jesus showing up at your workplace. I'll be scared if Jesus come and tell me, "Don't follow me," because I don't know. I might not be willing. Say, looking you in the eye and say, "Come on, guys, follow me." Drop your computer, put down your laptop, whatever you're doing, just follow me. Where Jesus, follow me. I got something important to do. This is my livelihood, and this is how I feed my family. Follow me. I'm almost finished with my degree. Follow me. What about my children? Follow me. So the disciples dropped everything and followed him. Now, perhaps you may be thinking that you have not been called to full-time ministry, but Jesus called a lot of people that weren't called to full-time ministry, but because our life should be full-time ministry. In this 21st century, maybe the way Jesus will be calling you, it will be different. He might not be asking you to drop your job or drop your what you're doing or your career, but he wants you in the midst of that to follow him. That to make your job, your career, whatever you're doing, to be your ministry for him. And that he would be the one who is influencing how you carry out your job, your job, because you are ministering to him for him while you're doing what you're doing. God did not call you or everyone to be a church pastor or a chaplain like myself or an evangelist. But Jesus' call was not limited to the 12 disciples either. We know that Jesus called other people. In fact, Jesus challenged the rich young ruler. You remember the rich young ruler, don't you? And he said to him, "Sell all your possession and follow me." He might have been a disciple he might not just be the rich young ruler. We might have had his name. His name might have been Azor, or I don't know. But we might have remembered him in a different way if he had followed Jesus. So Jesus, looking at the man, Jesus felt genuine love for him, and he said, "There is still one thing you haven't done." He told him, "Go sell all your possession, give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me." You know, Jesus wouldn't tell me to give all my riches to the poor because I got none. But he might be asking me to give up something else. What is it Jesus will ask you to give up to follow him? What is it that you and I can give up in order to avail ourselves to Jesus in a full way? There might be something that I am holding back. That if I gave it to Jesus, I could be a tremendous disciple or influence for good in this world. So yeah, he might not asking for you to give up your house or your land or your money, but what is it that you need to give up? Maybe you need to give up that fear of talking to people. Maybe you need to give up. I don't know. What is it? You have to ask God. What is it that I need to give up so that I can follow you fully? Nobody told me when I have to stop, so that means I got free range. Matthew tells us that the call to Jesus to follow and to be a fisher of men, no matter what the cost, is a call that is given to all Christians. It is a call that is not only for the first disciples, it is for Christians throughout all the centuries. Jesus said in Matthew 16:24, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. That is very general, right? That has your name on it. It says, whoever, just like John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believe in him. Well, this is also one of those whoever's. Whoever wants to be my disciple, do you want to be Jesus' disciple? It's dead silence. You must what? Deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. How does that happen? How does that happen? How do we deny ourselves, take up our cross? Well, that might be a topic for another sermon. But you and I need to reflect on that. We need to reflect on that daily. How do I deny myself? What is it about me that is interfering with the plan of God? What is it about me that is standing in the way that I may fulfill the greatest potential that Jesus would want me to fulfill as his disciple? Do we really follow Jesus today? We don't hear him as the disciples that heard him, but like two individuals that can maintain a long distance communication. And today we have so many wonderful means to keep in contact with people. I was speaking with a husband at the hospital, little baby just days old, and I saw a woman with the baby, and I said, "His mother?" He said, "No, this is aunt." And so I may have said something like, "Where is mom?" And she said, "Mom is in prison." And it has to do with some immigration issues, but she wasn't a bad woman. Let's put her there. And so I said, it must be difficult. They have a 5-year-old child also. How do they, here is her child, just 20-something days old, and she's locked away. She can't see the baby. And they said, well, we maintain communication with her and through FaceTime. And it's not the same as in person, obviously, but at least she don't have to imagine what's happening. We have this communication. She can see the kid can see her, and that keep the fire burning until in a few months she should be free. So I said, even though today you and I don't see Jesus face to face, we have a means of maintaining that communication. And you might not hear him telling you in audible voice, follow me, but you can hear him through his word. You can hear him when you pray. You can hear him when you participate in this kind of fellowship, or when you allow yourself to be part of his army that goes out and help others. So yes, we have a way to maintain that communication with our master. Now, after you and I have decided to follow Jesus, after we have made that decision to follow him, to walk off with him as Peter did, then he'll tell us, you will be fishers of men. And that was this whole core of his mission. Jesus desired to begin his work, and his decision was to involve his disciples from the very beginning. Scholars saw this as the birth of the Christian mission, as well as the birth of the Christian church. That movement when the kingdom community is formed to begin the task of reaching the world. Behind this is God's deep love for sinners and the desire to bring them to himself. We don't make ourselves fishers of men. We follow, we surrender. And Jesus makes us fishers of men. Becoming fishers of people is not the byproduct of a radical discipleship. Jesus, or I should say, is the byproduct of a radical discipleship. Jesus was very clear about his mission. That mission will also be very clear to us. So, are you ready to become a fisher of men? How did Jesus choose his helpers? Well, Jesus did not go up to the seminary, really. He did not go up to the well-educated, really. You know, I'm glad I got a seminary education, but this is not a qualification to be a fisher of men. The seminary is to help you to help you churchcraft. But to be a fisher of men, you don't need that. A master's of divinity. You just need the masters. And so, he went down to the lake and found some bad talking men and said, "Follow me. I'm going to do something. I want to do something great out of you." And he did. So Jesus saw that they were not only believers, but that they were open to a life-changing power. So he chooses us because he sees that the same potential in us, not who you are, but who you can become. The question is whether we are willing to surrender control of our life to him. You know, some of us are very controlling. "Follow me," he told Peter, "and I will what? I will give you a job that will bring you greater joy than the boatload of fish. Follow me," he told James and John, "and I will employ you in my Father's business." You see, they were in their Father's business, catching fish. And it's the business of saving the world. "Follow me," he told Andrew, and you'll get the biggest promotion you ever imagined. The response was, and they left their net at once and followed him. What excited? What elicited their immediate and dramatic response? Well, you know, they had a little knowledge of who Jesus was already, but it was their desire to be part of something big. And even though they did not understand fully what exactly they were getting into, they made a big decision. And Jesus rewarded that decision by giving them the power and the grace to go out and make a difference in this world. They didn't get rich. They didn't get famous in their day. But they did something that we, until today, are being blessed by it. The blessing that they gave to the world, we are still enjoying it today. I'm going to finish. It's important to know that leaving their nets to follow Jesus was costly. It cost them economically, and it involved some downward mobility. Fishermen, like tax collectors, were among the more economically mobile in the village culture. Although primary occupation on the Lake of Galilee was agricultural, fishing remained a major industry there. Fish was a primary staple in the first century Palestinian diet. Thus, fishermen had much to lose economically by leaving their business. So it wasn't just, oh, okay, give up this and get a better one. No. So when Jesus asked us to come on after him, he seeks to develop a close relationship with us. He has countless lessons to teach us. Lessons that cannot be learned by ourselves, lessons that are relevant to the situation and the mission to humanity. First of all, God wants us to hear Jesus only. In a time when many label commitment as fanaticism, when much of the world see truth as hypothetical or relative, and regard conviction as little more than a bias, God calls us for faithfulness or to faithfulness to one teacher. No pluralism of ideas, no indefinite open-mindedness or relativism. God wants us to carefully sort out the voices of strangers and keep and keep them strangers forever. Jesus said, "I know my sheep and they know my voice." Jesus called us to a radical discipleship, exclusive commitment. Jesus' command is to follow me. His command to follow him leaves us no room for others. I am the way. Follow me. How do you respond? I will follow thee, my Savior, wheresoever my lot may be. Where thou leadest, I will follow. Yes, my Lord, I'll follow thee. That is your call. That is your invitation. Follow me.